Okay, we're ready to go. Good evening, it is 5:17 and the date is September 15th, 2021, and this is our County Commissioners meeting. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. And stepping out of order a little bit, we have our new commissioner with us. So we're going to ask Tom to Commissioner Kay. And stepping out of order a little bit, we have our new commissioner with us.
Raise your right hand,
So we're going
please.
to ask Tom to
And repeat after me. I,
Commissioner Kay. And stepping out of order a little bit, we have our new commissioner with us.
Raise your right hand, please.
So we're going to
United
ask Tom
States
to
and repeat after me. I,
Commissioner Kay.
so long as I
Stepping out of order a little bit, we have our new commissioner with us.
Raise your right hand, please. United States and repeat after me. Do swear
Do swear that I will faithfully discharge
to the best of my abilities.
to the best of my ability
United States
incumbent on
do
me
swear as county commissioner
as county commissioner. Swear that I will
for the county of
faithfully
Kansas to the best of my abilities.
to the best of my ability,
According to the Constitution
according to the Constitution
and laws of this state.
and laws of this state.
Well done. So if you could sign there and there, please.
Welcome.
And right there.
Don't encourage John.
And there's,
And that's yours and yours and yours.
that's right. And we'll do this, and I'll give it to Larry to pass on to Sandy.
Thank you, I appreciate you serving from your district. Accept and approve, all commissioners are present except for Commissioner Leary. Accept and approve with waiver of the reading of the minutes, the meeting of September 1st, 2021.
Madam Chair, I make a motion to approve with a waiver of the reading of the minutes of the meeting for September 1st, 2021.
Okay, a second?
That's okay.
Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed, 6 to 0. Okay, let's visit the warrants.
Madam Chair, I make a motion to approve manual warrants payroll 2132, 2133, 2209J, and 2210J.
And a second? Okay, and you'll notice with, in your packet, Commissioner Poirier, I think you asked for a copy of the financial reports, and so everyone has their own copy.
Yes.
Okay. We'll go over that when we get to the treasurer's report. Okay, was there a county commissioners?
You gotta move.
Oh, we have to vote on this, thank you. All in favor?
Abstain.
Okay.
I haven't read the material.
Was there a county commissioners, Maine County Commissioners Association meeting?
Yes, there was.
Okay.
The first thing, the Maine Department of Corrections has given Penobscot County a 60-day extension regarding their licensing for the jail. So they are still working on straightening that out, but they are now insured, which is the way that works. The other thing that they did at the last meeting was they had each county commissioner report how they were spending the money that we got from the federal government. So Laura Haven, I think, has sent you all an email where you can watch the video or the actual text. It was very interesting to hear what others are doing. Some of them have hired a consultant to help them make sure they're in compliance. I think it's community Oxford, matter of fact, I was trying to find it in my notes, but I believe they hired Community Concepts, does that make sense?
Yeah, it could be.
So I don't know if we wanna look at that. The other thing that I heard was, they are trying to put it up on their webpage, to create the transparency that everyone talks about. I know at the budget committee meeting last week, was somewhat a discussion about that. So just thoughts, ideas that we may wanna incorporate. And depending on how, I'm not sure if this is getting more complicated for you, you guys are better judges of that. But I guess if you think we need to deal with a consultant, I think we should, maybe, if you feel that we need to, I would be willing to entertain that.
I have put that to Clarice, and right now, we're fine, but we are open to if it comes to that point of hiring a part-time, but we haven't reached that point yet. But
I don't wanna
that's always
stress,
an open
I wanna make sure we stay in compliance, and I also wanna not stress you out to the point of you're gonna give us your walking papers. I'll be very blunt about it.
No.
But that's all I have to report.
Okay, thank you. Western Maine Workforce Board?
I don't really have anything new or exciting to report, other than the meeting schedule for the upcoming year has been, laid out. Other than that,
Okay, Treasurer.
So August financials, you should have a copy of them, there's not much to really talk about, so unless you have questions, I'm not gonna focus on this a whole lot. Everybody is still within budget. I would like to talk more about this sheet, other sheet that's in front of you. It's how we are standing with the grant funds. This is a list of all the projects. The top part is the actual grant part, what's been proposed to you, what you have approved, and what we have spent so far. And then the bottom half is the revenue loss recovery funds. And that's what we proposed and spent, you approved on that part. And the very last line is what's remaining, after what you've approved. Update this, with my financials every month, just keep you posted.
Yeah, that's good. We're moving slow on that, but I think that's intentional, so.
Yep. Put a lot of thought into it, and I do need my financials approved though,
Okay,
according to our rules.
right. Questions on the treasurer's financial report this month?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I see on the, this is for the budget, your budget document, correct?
What's that?
We're on the budget.
We're on the
Your budget.
financials, yep.
Just to confirm, all right, so I see bicentennial is over by 106.21. It says this was illuminated out of the budget due to COVID. It was not expected to be happening this year at the time of budgeting. Was that expense authorized by the commission?
You'll have to talk to the administrator about that. That's the bicentennial line.
That was brought forward from last year. We had money from last year that was carried over.
For that account?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? If not, I'd entertain a motion to accept the treasurer's report.
so
Second, Roland.
And all in favor? Opposed? Thank you. Administrator's report.
Okay, just very quickly, because I will report that the budget committee meeting is meeting at 6, so we will be meeting to go through the rest of our meeting, but the budget, again, prepared for and attended budget committee meeting. I've been working on the remote meeting policy for the October 6th meeting. which we must have before any commissioner can participate by remote means. And there needs to be a public hearing before enactment, and so we'll schedule that as well at that time. We're still reviewing and re-reviewing the interim final rules for the ARPA funds. We just received word that any expenditures that qualify under the interim rule will be accepted as though it was the final rule, and we don't have to wait for final rule details and wonder whether we're right or not. So, the jail audit is ongoing and should be completed by the end of the month. I will be meeting with a representative of United Way as to the participation of Androscoggin County and their employees in the 2021 campaign next week. Have been reviewing correspondence regarding the opioid litigation, most of which of course is confidential. But as it nears toward the end of settlement, the state has decided that it is going to keep most of the money and give towns and counties a pittance. And this will mean serious conversation with the state. I've been asked to contact the attorneys as to how we can help in that endeavor. And then conversations regarding the process of filling the vacancy of commissioners and budget committee members. Here we are.
I do have a question. The document in our packet isn't marked attorney privilege. Is it a confidential document?
It's not marked as such, but I would consider it.
Mark that on mine. Does everybody know which one I'm talking about? That's from an attorney. Mhm. And it's reference to opioid litigation. Okay, any questions, other questions for the administrator?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
Administrator Post, do you approve all documents that are sent to the commission under the agenda items on Friday, on each Friday?
Do I approve all documents? I assume that what you're referring to, Commissioner, is the document regarding minutes, which was sent by my assistant.
I would respectfully ask you not to assume, the question is whether you approve all documents for inclusion in what is sent out as the commissioner's board packet.
And as far as whether I write an okay on everything, no, but I am aware of everything that goes out. Yes.
So in other words, if something is added to that packet, you would be aware of it.
Mhm.
So you would have the opportunity to decide whether it should be included or not.
That's correct.
Thank you, appreciate it. Madam Chair, I wish the minutes to reflect that based on the new minutes policy that has been promulgated without commissioner approval. Thank you.
There's no new minute policy. That was a letter from an employee who, by the way, was talked about publicly and criticized publicly in a commissioner's meeting. And she had every right to turn around and write a letter back to the commissioner stating her position. I respect her position on that. It's one thing to add things to the minutes, it's another thing to criticize an employee in a public meeting. She had every right to voice her opinion to the commissioners about what happened at
Madam
that
Chair,
one time.
I respectfully
No,
ask-
I just meant, I'm going to recognize the administrator.
Quite frankly, I had written approximately the same thing, and she was adamant that she wanted it, her feelings to be known because she's the one that actually takes the minutes down and does her best to get the minutes accurate and so on, and is consistently being undermined from what she does, and so she was insisting that she be able to do it, and I allowed it.
Of course.
Madam Chair, since you stated that I criticized an employee, I request the opportunity to correct that statement. I did not mention any employee by name on purpose. Second of all, the staff member that I will assume you are speaking of is not even the one that has the responsibility to make sure that the minutes are kept accurately. There is a job description that the commission has that actually states who is responsible for that. I think it may even be included in the bylaws as well. So just to clarify, I'm very pleased that now instead of interjecting opinions in the minutes, We will now receive letters from employees, which would be a much more appropriate manner for this. Now, moving on to other things, let's continue on in the agenda. Thank you.
Like I say, I'm good with the letter. I'm good with the chair, moving on with the agenda.
Okay, great. Okay, we're all set here with the administrator's report. Any other questions for the administrator? And comments from the public? And do we have anybody online here?
We're not online today.
Okay. Okay, the, number 8, new business. And I'm gonna turn this over to the administrator or our IT director, whoever wants to take it from here.
We have a very small, as you know, we're going to come to you with some much larger issues from IT and particularly in the jail. We have a very small request, and when Doug wrote the request certification notice, why he needs it, he more than spelled it out, but I will allow him to explain it further.
Okay,
Yeah, so just real briefly, it's, Brendan Senior. We're just facing a situation where we've got a situation in one of the jail wiring rooms, where we've discovered that the UPS units need some maintenance. They either need to be replaced or upgraded, new batteries. And, you know, when we look at the expense of doing those upgrades or replacements or maintenance versus the opportunity we have right now with the federal monies, overall, I think it makes more sense, and that's why I wrote the recommendation to do an upgrade and use a moderate amount of those funds available to give us a better platform where, you know, if I were designing the system today, this is what I would have drawn if we were starting it from scratch. So yeah, it's a little bit of a crapshoot as far as the exact cost of what it would be to replace the batteries and do the upgrades on the existing equipment, or to replace the current equipment with new equipment that's of the same size. But there's enough, in my opinion, I wrote those all in the proposal here, enough reasons not to do it that way that I would just recommend that we spend a little bit more money and do it right now, using the opportunity of the federal funds that are available. I can answer any questions that you have about specific nature or technical nature, but really it looks like we could spend a few thousand now on just the enabling system, or we could spend a little bit more than that and do it right and be in a good position for quite a long time.
Madam Chair.
go ahead.
I looked at that document, thank you for providing it in detail, and I really appreciate that, let's ask you that ahead of time. My one concern in not being an IT expert, but as things get more networked, part of the justification was that this is going to be a cybersecurity thing. I'm having a hard time understanding how uniform power supply or uninterrupted power supply is sourced, who's going to protect in the cybersecurity. Maybe there's a different definition of cybersecurity, but what I think of is what everybody hears about is hacking or ransomware or something like that.
Yep.
And second, if we're trying to network all this, I feel like that makes things more vulnerable than less vulnerable. I can see some of the advantages of what you're saying, but I'm trying to understand that.
I certainly can, I applaud you for raising the fact that as you network things, you introduce some other risks. The trouble is, the reason that you network it is to address a different set of risks, which is that you don't know what's going on with your critical infrastructure. So by putting it on the network and then also protecting that network connection in such a way that it's segregated from the rest of the network, the risk of adding the network connection is far outweighed by the benefit of having full insight and monitoring of your power infrastructure. So I hope that addresses that. Now, as far as whether it's cybersecurity or not, this is, the language that I used here was including hardware, software, and protection of critical infrastructure. That comes directly from the language that I pulled down from the federal rule. So I focus on the protection of critical infrastructure. To me, there's no more critical infrastructure than your network and your surveillance in the jail. Everything in the jail basically runs off that network, and if it doesn't have reliable power, that's a problem.
Madam Chair. Second question, if I may, please. Is this going to require a lot of extra hardwiring? What I'm envisioning is we're powering multiple. We're just say apparatus, I don't wanna get into details, but multiple items, I would assume throughout the entire facility there. Will we then, is this something we're able to plug into the regular system? I'm kind of wondering from Mr. Cody, or whether we're gonna have to put a bunch of conduit in for, sometimes you see kind of at a hospital, a dedicated circuit that's off the generator and another one that's, you know, you can plug in the TV or something.
The way Doug, the IT director, and I, we both work together on this, and essentially, I don't want to say plug and play, but it's essentially a plug and play system, where now we're gonna have redundancy, when we didn't have redundancy before. So if a battery let go, the system went down. The way that Doug has designed the system, if a battery does go, it's all right, the other battery that runs in tandem will take over. And everything is literally plug into the wall, and you take, I'll call it the computer or apparatus, will plug into it, and it does it all automatic.
So we're not looking at a bunch of extra
No.
wiring, extra costs.
Commissioner, actually, I think I could respond fairly directly to that. We estimated $400 for the electrical wiring. There's already a load center in the room. I'll have to run a piece of conduit, put a couple of outlets in, and that's really it.
Right, the low voltage technician too, for like 200, I think. or
Yeah,
something.
well, that was actually a little bit more, and I think that was, there's a little bit unknown there, so I put in 750 as a request there. I expect it will come in a little bit less than 750 for the network wiring piece.
Madam Chair.
Go ahead.
Am I correct in understanding that we need to get 2 other proposals for this? Is that the way all these things happen? 'Cause I
I'm
know the
not
accounting-
aware of that, but I mean.
Because the accounting software, I knew that was mentioned to us,
Well, this is only 70,
500.
It's in the order of 7,500.
Yeah,
I think
under
it's a little low.
10,000, so.
Oh, okay.
And
I'm
because,
glad, because I know it's hard to get quotes.
and because we have a system already, this is considered maintenance, and you don't need to go out to bid on
Okay.
maintenance.
I just didn't want to fail.
Sure, no,
That's a good question, that's a good, very good.
Just for my own, while we're on the subject, if I may, so just for my own learning, my understanding was that $10,000 was a main OPEGA requirement, but is that also the same number that goes along with the federal ARPA program as well?
Well, what we're trying to, Larry and I are trying to research that right now. Statutes say 10,000, it doesn't say, but if it's a contract, it's different, so right now we're going by main state statutes to go for everything.
Yeah, again, just to summarize, we could spend a few thousand out of operating, or we could spend 8,000 out of federal money and be in a better position. I mean, I highly recommend it.
I'd like to make a motion to accept the proposal that the funds be used from the federal.
And second. And before we vote, did anyone else have any questions? Or any clarification that you need to place a vote on this?
I just have a question.
Yes.
What's the actual battery time on those?
It depends on some factors, I don't have enough data right now, but I can tell you that the UPS units that I've got in mind are the largest ones you can get in a 20 amp factor. And so it'll be most that we can get in that space that'll fit no matter what. It'll certainly be more than a few minutes, I would expect that it'll be more than an hour. I wouldn't be surprised if it's 2, 3, 4 hours, but I won't know until I have more data than I have right now.
Madam Chair, one other question, please. You list the life expectancy, I believe, to 1 to 3 years on these other options. What is the life expectancy on these batteries? My guess is they're gonna be, these are, $100, $150, $300 to replace. I have a feeling it's gonna be a whole lot more when we replace that big battery.
Actually, I wouldn't expect that, I expect the replacement cost for each of these UPSs, the cartridges will be in the $200 to $300 range, and it should last about 3 to 4 years, is my expectation.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, let's go ahead and vote. All those in favor? Opposed?
Opposed, I wish the minutes reflect, I believe it's a good idea to spend the money on this, but I don't think the federal government should be giving us money that they've already taxed us to use. Thank you.
Okay. Discussion items.
Madam Chair.
Go ahead.
I'll just say thank you.
I just would like to ask, we as a commission, as we start to state that we support letters, et cetera, stating things about commissioners, calling things such as insults, et cetera, and deciding to put a finger on the balance of the minutes. The minutes are our official record. The videos do disappear over time. So the minutes, it is still inappropriate to add commentary to minutes. While they may not be prohibited, it is not accurate and it is very inappropriate to start adding commentary. And if it's being done, which it should not be, but even to play that game and say if it was done, it should be done on both sides. There are many examples, even in the past minutes, which I wish to have been able to have spoken to, but I was not able to be here earlier. My apologies. There were things that were missed for the previous ones that should have been added. So there is a responsibility countywide to make sure that minutes are accurately reflected, their videos recorded, and there is a bylaw requirement to record minutes as the objections of commissioners. So it's not up to staff to decide whether something is disrespectful. And furthermore, the statement that it's insulting or accusing others, that would actually be quite interesting to consider. Basically, the idea was that it was inaccurate to state that we treat certain elected officials with more deference and kindness than regular citizens. I would just ask the commission to consider how the public was treating on February 3rd and February 17th, when potentially a construct was used putting the future meeting set up for whether it would be remote or not. It was put on discussion items. It wasn't even up for a vote. It was put on discussion items, commissioners only. Now, maybe that was by accident, but the public has right to speak to any agenda item, and I had to fight the chairwoman directly to try to get, I had to fight her directly to try to get the public the opportunity to even be allowed to speak, and then you said mute everyone. That was wrong, Madam Chair, and I respectfully demand that you, Madam Chair, refund every dollar of the tax money that you used for the legal counsel. When I requested specific questions to be answered, you turned around and got them to keep having those questions even be answered or be submitted to the rest of the commission. And furthermore, it was a violation of our policy that stated that we had to approve or reject legal counsel. We never held a vote. I challenge you respectfully to show me on the minutes whether we ever held a vote to accept or reject what the lawyer presented, and it never happened, Madam Chair. I respectfully demand you refund that money to the taxpayer.
Any other comments?
Thank you, Grace.
Thank you.
Good night, all. Thank you so much.
Future agenda items?
Future agenda items.
Madam Chair, I respectfully request that we add the agenda to open up the entire executive session, the April 21st executive session, and all of the legal documents or those that purport to be legal documents to the public. If there's nothing to hide, then it will be a good idea to show the public that there was nothing to hide.
Okay, any other future agenda items?
And Madam Chair, that is in order and it needs to be added in the
So
near future. You've had two weeks now to add it.
Okay,
2
Terry
weeks.
Kelly.
Move to adjourn.
Madam Chair, point of order.
If I
You are not a commissioner.
No,
sir.
actually,
You are not.
no,
No, this is interesting, Madam Chair. You do this very often. It's very often. You do this very
No, I'm
often.
telling you to
You allow
stop.
staff to speak, but
It's
I
not
don't
to-
keep commissioners from ever speaking.
No, it's up to the commission who they want to hear and who they don't want to hear.
It's actually up to the board, Madam
No,
Chair.
stop.
It's
It's
the
not
bylaws.
up to
Look at the
one
bylaws.
commissioner to hear who they want to hear and who they do not want to hear.
You suppress speech when you don't have
Commissioner
to hear.
Larry, not one more interruption. We listened to you quite a long time. Is it the will of the collective board to hear the
Point of order,
administrator?
Madam
This
Chair.
board is run
Point of
by a
order.
board, not by
Point
a
of order.
person.
Look at the bylaws and show me whether I'm right or wrong.
Is it the will of the board to hear the administrator?
It's up to the chair. It's up to the chair. Look at the bylaws, Madam Chair.
Is it, I run this by the board. Is it the will of the board? Would you like to hear the
Yeah.
administrator or not?
I would like to hear
Yes,
the
we would like to
administrator.
hear the administrator.
Then you do not have the right to cut the administrator off if the board as a whole
The board had not had one,
the
Madam Chair.
board as a
I'd like to hear
whole
from
wants
him.
to hear him. And so,
Madam Chair,
We're gonna
the
hear
chair
you
has,
without interruption. If there's interruption, we're gonna take a recess until you can be heard.
the chair, has the obligation to, determine who's speaking and who's not, and, thank you. Commissioner Larry insists that what he has just put on the, once on the agenda, must be put on the agenda at the next meeting. Commissioner Larry, thinks that he is the, person who knows the most about the
Madam Chair, I
bylaws.
object. That is out of
And
line.
he uses the.
That is out of line.
Commissioner,
Commissioner.
The gentleman's out of order, you don't have any right to assume the motives behind it, any commissioner, anyone, you have a right to assume the motives behind you. So, you don't have to leave, just tighten it up.
the bylaws state that under the of future agenda items, that commissioners may suggest future agenda items. Period, the end. May suggest, that's the word of the bylaws.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, that
So we actually
that,
have a
no, that is,
motion
Madam
on
Chair,
the table
the
to.
bylaws state that the chair may not unduly delay placing items on the agenda, and the lawyer told us that we could add this to the agenda, so you don't have any legal legs to even stand on, Madam Chair. So it's up to you whether you put that on the agenda, and I would also note that this commission can be forced to follow its own bylaws by a court. Would that be necessary, Madam Chair?
Have I said enough of it on the agenda? You're the one that's out of control.
You've
I'm
allowed
listening.
many people
I
to
have
try
written down-
and use.
I have it written down in my notes. I'm not sure why you're out of control, but you can.
You need to go take a seat, Commissioner Larry.
All right,
Adjourn.
Calm down.
now, we have a motion to adjourn, a
Second.
second.
No,
That's
We have lots of
appropriate.
seconds.
calm down.
You're in
All in count, all in favor of adjourning. All right,
Opposed?
6-1, thank you. We are adjourned. I'll see you.
The meeting to order, and we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands,